Hey, what's up, everyone? What's going on? The Alchemist here with the one, the only VK Johanna, and the V is for Vidian. How you doing? How you doing tonight, bro?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Real good, real good. We've been trying to, get on to do a live, and I asked some questions and technical situations and spiritual conversations sometimes. It
Yeah.
directs you a certain path. And so what it is now is it is a interview of just all the questions. Honestly, I've accumulated over the years because you've been out and having, from your website, which that in of itself, I just want to say, like, is immense and immersed, dude. Like, you are an encyclopedia of, I've worked this pantheon, I've worked this, I've done this, and your rituals for hire are so, like, they're so unique. It's like all so unique. So, like, the appreciation of what you've done, and I know you've written some tomes for in the Bog. I'm not sure which ones those were off the top of my head.
I wrote for the Lucifuge Compendium and the Abaddon Compendium.
I knew Avid that one. I did feel that one for sure. I mean, like, shit, dude. Like, really, when my first question comes up is, what pulled you into doing magic in the first place? Because from what you have to where you are now, I didn't know if it was like you were raised Christian or you just started questioning things or you just were magically inclined. Just kind of how that whole began for you.
I was raised to be a fundamentalist Christian, like church 3 times a week. My dad took me on like mission trips and stuff to Kenya and Costa Rica. But around 16, as soon as I started hanging out with like Wiccans in high school, I immediately got an interest in trying to do what they do, because spellcasting just seemed like such a useful tool, and I was kind of getting tired of the Christian ideology, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with like a beginner's guide to Wicca. Little grounding exercises were like my first spiritual attempt, and first spiritual success as well. I started Googling Satanism at that age too, because I assumed Satanists would be like pure evil, and I wanted to like know about them. But I wound up really liking what I found. I wound up trying their meditations, their rites, etc., and that turned out to be my calling.
That's actually really awesome. I came from a Christian upbringing, and then I went down the Catholic way. But when it came down to it, I started looking into Illuminati and all that stuff, and it came to these rituals. What are they doing? And then looking into those beings, and honestly having no real power. It felt like in my reality, and searching for that due to fractal moments in life where you freaking are traumas growing up and all that. And this is about the only thing that gave me that fulfillment for sure. And did you just feel that kind of like fulfillment for yourself? Like once you started getting into it, did it just feel absolutely right? Or did you ever have like any second guessing once you started the path, or were you just steadily on, steadily up?
Yeah, I never really second guessed it much. One of the first things I learned was chakra meditation at that age, and that alone was enough to make a huge difference for me. Like, I still lived with my parents at 16. Um, I secretly stopped taking my antidepressants, and I told my mom I didn't need them. She was like, "Why? This is like the happiest we've ever seen you." And of course, she had no idea I was just spitting them in the toilet.
Yeah.
Not that like antidepressants are bad.
Well, I actually, what you just said, I did that in fourth grade. I started throwing them away because I was put on things to stop my ADHD. But little did they know that was putting me to be like a robot, and it caused me to make trouble versus me just having ADHD. Like, honestly, it's rejuvenating. It can be a lot, and I can see how it can mess up some people, but like if you ride with it, you know what I mean? Getting that current of it and enjoy it. I think that's good, but damn, that's another similarity. Wow. Um,
Yeah, 14, I got prescribed ADHD meds, Adderall specifically. I had to stopped taking those in my early 20s because like it became a problem later in life. Like early on, it was easy as like it was like a wonder drug, but the way it affected me changed. I did a rite to Lucifuge for self-knowledge, and he showed me that I was taking those. I was telling myself that I was still taking Adderall to be productive, but he showed me that I was really doing it to like escape who I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of goes on to thing with Belial I was telling you before the conversation. Asking the question like, you know, when you look back at a certain time and you feel a certain energy about yourself, wishing you were something else. What happens if you look at yourself now into your future standpoint? Will you still have that same feeling, or will you be happy with what you've overcome and become? And like that's always something too on my mind. It's like, god damn, like you got to be able to have that steady course. And I mean, know thyself, dude. That's pretty interesting thing to take to Lucifuge.
Yeah. I just asked for self-knowledge. I didn't expect it to be Adderall related, but
yeah. Well, as lots of workings, you know, you don't necessarily know what you want the result to be, but all the things that go along with it. And that's something when it comes to spell casting and working with these entities, that's a very big 101, I feel, is it's not just you do like a ritual and then you're done. It's like that's going to echo on and other things are going to transpire for your evolution to get that fulfillment. Or doors are going to shut, but you got that energy out of you and you won't give a shit, or it wasn't good for you in the first place. And honestly, I know, one of my first questions I was going to ask is, as I was watching through your YouTube videos, because on one of my side jobs I can just listen to things, and so I was kind of just listening through a lot of what you're talking about, and something I really, really loved was your top 3 tips for beginners and ways to just help them start their evolution in their practice. And you talking about that grounding, like, and then the chakra working and all that, how that like helped out your evolution. So what would you say to anyone that was just hopping in? What were those 3 tips, if you don't recall, and why are they so important to you?
The 3 tips I give to beginners are A, try to get proficient at 1 or 2 types of divination right off the bat, and keep using them regularly, because those do help develop one's psychic senses all around. And of course, you'll want to be able to divine well before you start approaching things like Glyphotic initiation. So you can like see if you're ready, see what weight you should do them at, etc. Second thing I recommend is chakra meditation. That helps a lot. Like when I used to do video consultations, people would always ask me, you know, hey, how can I improve my spirit communication, my ability to see spirits? I always would say, how often do you meditate on your chakras? They'd always say, not very. Yeah. So that was always like the tip for that. Third thing is you find the pantheon that you're most drawn to, and you want to develop a devotional practice to them, like regular offerings and prayers. Like having some type of daily devotional practice is often what determines how far someone goes as a magician. Of course, don't be scared to approach the spirits that you're drawn to. You may feel like you aren't worth their time, or whatever you hope to ask for is not good enough for their attention. But if they're really called to a pantheon or a spirit, chances are they've been in your life for a very long time already, just waiting for you to start calling on them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I see things in my life where I'm like, that makes a lot more sense why that seemed kind of whack, but for my betterment. And like, that right there, what you just gave, those 3 tips, I just thought about someone like going to some college of like wizardry, and they're like, this is exactly what you need. Now begin your quest, go on now. And like, that totally makes sense. I know I use prayer and meditation. Definitely. That was kind of my hyperlink, as you would say, into that like the way to connect to those things. But the synchronicities, I will say, you can't control those, and those are something that make you feel like it's either a hologram or the other side is just, I don't know. I don't know how they do it, dude. Like sometimes I'm just blown away. I'm like, oh god, here goes the numbers thing. Oh god, there's that animal right there. Oh god, I've been talking to Belial, and that big crow is always right there all the time, staring. It's awesome. It's an awesome roller coaster.
Yeah, when I recently started working with the Egyptian moon god Khonsu, he kept giving me like 222 synchronicities for some reason.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And that's something too. Knowing your language that you speak with these entities, because everyone has different ways in which they see synchronistic things. Like everyone learns differently, so obviously we all have our own spiritual path on how we learn. So just kind of understanding as you get to know yourself better to those higher levels, I do feel like those understandings are able to be custom fit for you. So don't hold any expectations if you're not seeing numbers. That's for sure. Like it can be in other ways, dreams and such, but not really. Not my dreams, not so much. I feel like I have like the most ordinary, basic dreams, and everyone's like, I'm flying around, fighting in a war, doing crazy things, and I'm like in a college class learning something boring, just like just kind of lame. So
Yeah,
another. Oh, go ahead.
For me, for dreams, I don't remember most of them, but some are really mundane, but some have like clear messages, clear warnings. There's been a few times where demons actually sort of dreamwalked me, which is an unmistakable experience. Like they came into my dreams. It was Basmijael and Azazel who did that. It's extremely intense to have a demon present in your dream.
Did you do a working to call that to be, or did that just kind of?
No, that was all them.
Wow. So I mean, man, I wonder sometimes if there's people we see in the streets, or passerby, if like it's not really a person, it's like actually a being, and because it gives you that next thing that you needed to hear or feel or something like that. Like I know it's not. People might feel like that sounds like a movie, but I mean, I've had crazy things happen, especially with some homeless people. Like I really, all I can say is crazy shit will happen out there, but also don't follow all the homeless people because it can get crazy. So another question is, so I see you have all these different rights, and from EA to JS Garrett to JD Temple, myself, like some people use blood in their rights, other people do not. And so I didn't know if you use blood in rights or kind of where you stand with that, or is it more of you're building up that psychic energy, just kind of your energy, your taste, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do use blood a lot. I actually scarify my shoulders as like a sign of my strength and devotion when I give offerings or use blood magic. It's all like both shoulders are just nothing but scar tissue. Razarith actually taught me that I can use the scars as like manufactured energy points, which has been very effective whenever I do it.
Oh wow! So whatever energy you cut into you, it's almost like a tentacle. The energy is always cut into you, and kind of like a funnel of energy of that spirit into you, essentially.
I'm not sure, but for some reason, like the scars from offerings, I don't know how it works, but I can draw power from them. There was this technique my higher self taught me where I call on my personal metagod, which is a soul component. I pull its power down from it, pick up more energy from the scars, and shape it all into my hand and create this vortex. And then I just summon a demon into that. It's very effective and quick for some reason.
Damn, that's badass shit, dude. That's doing that shit like you're sitting on a train. There, what's his hands doing there? You're doing some crazy shit. That's awesome, man. Actually, that kind of pulled me to another question I had was, what could for your higher self? And I remember one of your videos you're talking about, it's giving you like a wiki page of who you are and all that. Like, I'm just wondering along those lines for people that are still searching for that. Like, I actually don't. I know what I look like, and I know my energy, like my true authentic energy, but I don't know the quote name of it. Possibly, maybe I do. I just don't quote remember. But what would you say to anyone even trying to find their image or what they feel like they could resonate? Is there any maybe meditation or a working that you would do or point someone to unlock that?
I don't have a particular working for that. It just became natural to connect to it. Like if you're doing divination and you aren't calling on a certain spirit through it, you're by default getting your answers from your higher self. So the more divination you do like that, the stronger that connection becomes until you can see it, talk to it, get its name, etc.
Okay. Wow. Um, yeah, I remember the beginning when I was doing with the pendulum. I could totally tell when it was a different spirit going through it versus myself. That was actually one of the very first things I ever felt right when I was a beginner was someone using a pendulum, and it was to Michael, the angel. And when I grabbed it, she said, "Ask your question." I felt it, and I felt like I was in that Hercules movie, and I was super small, and the angel was like Zeus. I was like, "Holy shit, this is real!" But yeah, that's cool shit. But yeah, I guess next question. I was just gonna say the higher self thing is really interesting, but I do feel like we also don't need to be so worried about necessarily knowing what that is. Just connecting to, the divinity that is, and just going on with your life. We don't have to know all the, integral secrecies. Integral secrecies. I sound like an idiot. Intros. I don't even know what it is anymore. But next question. I didn't know if you ever had any long-term working with Thoth, the Atlantean, because I have yet to do any workings, but I'm reading this book actually right now, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, a Beginner's Guide, and it talks about just like different ancient history and how people took the knowledge from the Emerald Tablets and then put it for like the Ten Commandments and bastardized it, and the stories about the flood and all that was taken essentially from that, and all things along those lines. But when it comes to the actual entity of working with Thoth, I would love to hear any of your experiences and how you connected and what you were able to achieve.
Um, so I've worked with him a bit. I've called on him a few times to like empower my ancestral spirits so that they're more potent and can be trusted with, greater manifestations. Um, One thing that I did with him that really sticks out was ancestral enslavement. So basically, this other I was beefing with this other practitioner, and I was cursing him, vice versa. Um, I got the idea to try. Thoth taught me that I could call on him to enslave this person's ancestors and force them to attack him. So like, I've only done this once, but Thoth like guided me on how to do it. Like I connected with him just like in an intuitive way. Then he had me make some certain shape with my hands. Um, then I addressed the target's ancestral spirits and said, by the power of Thoth, I command you to punish your descendant, and I empower you to do so through the current of Mercury. A few days passed, one of his ancestral spirits just came to me and said, hey, our work is done. So I connected to Thoth again and said, all right, I let you go of your charge. You will not seek retaliation against me in any way. Then the next day I got a screenshot of him begging for money, saying that like his power was going to go out and he can't afford food.
Holy shit. That's a quick turnaround right there, dude.
Yeah, well, mercurial energy is quick.
And so when you are doing a cast for a certain working, do you put into play the time you're doing it, the day you're doing it, if you're gonna, does that mean you're gonna add blood? And do you always include like that specific hour of like Jupiter, for example, or make sure you're on Thursday and everything, or do you just kind of do it when you feel like you need to do it?
Yeah, I just do it whenever I feel like I need to do it. I do know that there's power in the planetary hours and days, but I generally don't use them.
Yeah, I've only on the special occasion, honestly. Sometimes it's super cool, like the moon on the moon on the moon with the lunar spirit. Oh, I'm fucking going in. But just like uh, when I feel like I really need to do it, especially that energy. I feel like you got to bring the energy when you're going in a ritual, like 100%. Like you don't have to be dancing up and down, but I mean you can, but you just want to make sure that you are be able to be focused, have no distractions, and also not be like super tired, to where it's nothing. Like you want to bring that energy, so that's just like another big ass 101. I wanted to touch. I know you didn't say you're gonna have this right up and out, but I did just want to say the right you did with me with Santa Morte was absolutely awesome and wonderful. It made it so I could start breathing more, and it actually gave me kind of that kickstart to the whole thing with Belial in making me actually take that step to do that. And yeah, actually, I had a really crazy experience. I wanted to definitely tell you about her, but I wanted to hear kind of what pulled you into just working with her, and just your beginning. Like, what drew you to her?
Um, to be honest, at first, back in the day, people would hire me to like write articles about certain spirits. One
Mm-hmm.
of my regulars hired me to do an article about Santa Muerte, so I, channeled her sigils, communed with her a bit. Um, but then normally I would wait to work until I get the payment, but this guy had, hired me for the same thing so many times, I just went ahead. Then he told me that he couldn't afford to pay for it and had to cancel. I was like, well, fortunately, I'm kind of invested now. I really like this Santa Muerte spirit. I'm gonna do it anyways. So he just sent me what he could. Um, so I channeled my gnosis of her, put it on the blog. Um, and later, I'm going on a date with a girl to this place called the Death Museum. So for a split second, like this weird look comes over her face. And she says, "Let's go see her." I was like, "See who? Are we meeting?" Yeah. I was like, "See who? Are we meeting someone there?" She's like, "Huh?" I was like, "You said let's go see her." She's like, "Oh, I don't remember saying that." Like she actually got possessed for a second to say that. Um, so we go to the museum, and I see some little idols of Santa Muerte there. I was like, "So that's who they were talking about." Eventually, La Santissima came to me and said, "Okay, I want to be your patroness for the death current, for necromancy, for necrosophy, for underworld stuff, etc." So I accepted her as such. She instructed me to get a black statue of her. Um, I went down to this local botanica that I was a regular at. I saw they had an altar to Santa Muerte in the store. I thought the statues were for sale, but that was just an altar in the store. I asked when I asked if they were for sale, the guy at the cash register said no, but I can get you a statue of Santa Muerte next week. Um, uh, yeah, I told him that it had to be the black one. He was like, cool. So he texted me later with this when he got this big, beautiful statue of Santa Muerte. Now I have statues for red, white, and blue. Not blue, red, white, and black. Um, I'm in the middle of a 9-day path working with her right now.
Wow.
Um, she's been showing me some of her other aspects. I've been realizing why she is kind of specific about which colors she introduces people to, because the energy between them is really distinct. So, like La Niña Negra, the black robed aspect, her energy kind of makes me feel like glad, positive when she's present. By contrast, La Nina Rosa, the pink robed aspect, that one's energy makes me feel like straight up euphoric. For contrast, La Nina Azul, the blue robed aspect, her energy was actually kind of unsettling for me at first. And the green robed aspect just feels a lot darker than the others.
So I actually had a black skull candle for her, and this was 3 years ago, and I did a path working because I was gonna go do ayahuasca, and so I couldn't smoke, I couldn't have coffee, I couldn't have anything. So her and Arias, I asked for their assistance, and so I'd always give praise, and I just had her skull, and I'd basically sit in adoration, and just each day for that process. So I get and I go to ayahuasca, and I went there because I was wanting to let go of things where I was holding on to, like the passing of my father and different things I regretted. And I went there and I had that experience of feeling like I got to let go of that shit in the underworld and go forth. And I'm thanking her, and I'm so happy. I pick up my friend at the airport, down in Florida, and then I said, let's go get some food. So we just go to some random parking lot, and I walk into a random restaurant, dude, and it is a Santa Muerte restaurant with lions everywhere. Like I honestly was absolutely baffled by that, and then I ended up lighting her skull on a beach in the sand, and after it's done, I covered it up as representation of that, but. The what you just said, like going to a museum that ended up being in there and all that, I definitely feel like she is a force. Like it's not just a Gregor, like there is actually a potent force to it. And I always had that resonance with the Grim Reaper, and now I feel like as an adult, when I was a kid loving that, it was actually of Santa Morte. And so it's kind of that they're with you all the time,
Yeah. She is always with me to some extent. Yeah, I'm siding with Misael Bay's assertion that she embodies the entirety of Mictlan and the deities that preside over it. So, Sihahuatl, Mictlan de Kuli, and Mitehasiguatl, they're all part of her. And so are the spirits of that realm.
Actually, this is the Norse goddess Hela, Hel. I saw you worked with her. Would you find her to be the same type of mask as Santa Muerte, same type of current, or is that two separate beings?
They're both part of the death current, so Santa Muerte is still the primary guide when I work with Helheim and Hela, but I would consider those two separate beings. I do think Santa Muerte, they're like separate incarnations of death itself.
Okay. So yeah, that's because I had someone sent me a carving of a skull face, and I was like, oh look, it looks like Santa Muerte. And they're like, no, it's Hela from the Norse pantheon. And when you worked with her, what was it that you were? What did you learn from that working that you did with her?
Well, at that time, I was delving deep into the death current, so I was calling on these different underworld planes to like empower myself for death magic and necromancy through them. So, almost like initiating through them. So, I designed this right, calling on her and the other spirits of that realm to like empower myself through it. And then they gave me workings with different entities of that plane, and they introduced me to some unrecorded ones and gave me like workings with them too. So I just did like an alchemical path working with the Norse underworld.
Wow. Yeah, you do a lot of working with necromancy, and I really haven't. I mean, I've done ancestral stuff, but that's in a sense it's type of a taste, but it's definitely not the same thing. Have you been able to use that like for cursing, or do you use it for healing? What is it that you feel like? Is it just universal? It could be for anything. Well, what's your thoughts on that?
It is pretty much universal. I do use it for curse work for sure. Um, I call on my ancestors for that often. Sometimes those who died nameless and forgotten. I found the ghosts of witches are the best, generally the best ghosts to work with, other than your ancestral spirits. Um, Also, some work with the Dragar for curse work, the Norse undead. um, for healing, I do call on the dead for healing too. The specific spell I performed over you, it starts and ends by calling on La Santissima because she's my patroness for the death current. But the spell, it calls on Lulua, who is supposed to be Cain's wife, one of the first Satanists. It calls on her and the ghosts of witches who specialize in healing and life that sort of act as her agents in the afterlife. That's what I call on for that healing spell. And I've been testing it more. I actually probably am going to start selling it. I tried it on a girl who had a double ear infection, strep throat, and COVID all at once. And even she reported a huge improvement in her health.
Wow, I know what you did for JS too. Like that has some potency to it for sure. Like I can attest. Like once you have that on there, I can even make a 1 minute clip for you to put on there because that really did help me out, and it definitely did a kickstart to a new direction I need to go. And honestly, it gave me a fresh start within my temple. So everyone get that. That thing is awesome, dude. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean that's one thing, dude. All the spells you have, like in the customization of it. I mean, I've done certain things that are a couple different beings here and there, and I've obviously one spirit, of course, on that, but like customized spells that you also are like and expertise with, you know what I mean? Like, the thing. Like, I have my Juggernaut, right, that I can have on sometimes of the year. It just, I can't. In the location I'm at right now, it's not really easy to do the whole blood right whole situation. You can't do that in the city and all that. So, but just having those combinations of certain spirits all come together makes them like great things. But were all these things just kind of, as you went on your journey, you just like, man, I really need this situation to get fixed. And you just started pulling all these entities kind of together, or did the spirits come to you? I just kind of want to know how that kind of works for you, how everything unfolds.
Yeah, sometimes I channel spells just so I can like try things I've never tried before and see if I can achieve them through magic. That's like the main thing that really makes me feel powerful and confident in my craft, is trying stuff that I have no idea whether or not I can do and then succeeding. For the healing spell, a few years back, I was seeing someone whose mother had to go to the hospital because of like 3 ruptured spinal discs. So I originally channeled that spell to try and heal the woman's mom. This wasn't a perfect test experiment because the woman was an atheist, so I didn't want, like, it might look bad if I tried to take credit for her mother's health. And of course, the mother was a Christian, so I'm not telling her shit. But next update I got was that, according to the doctor, it was a best case scenario for that type of medical problem after I cast a spell. So,
see, that's
probably the second person I tested it on.
Damn. Well, that right there, you're not. The thing that's really impressive too is, what I understand, you're just using your psychic energy and adding a little bit of your blood here and there in certain rites, and you feel called to it. And it's just really you putting all that energy into that rite and then letting it go cast forward. And you being able to pull off the potency of spells doing that and all that, like it's really badass shit, dude. Honestly. I mean, the one thing, and I'm going to definitely have to have you test my black web armor and get your thoughts on that. Like, that's probably my favorite thing. That's the thing that I sell the most of. It's just building an armor that's kind of like has astral tentacles as a part of it, and it's almost like a spawn armor. And I don't know, it's super fucking badass. But yeah, man. I'll definitely keep an eye out for whenever that comes out and show you, a review for your ritual. Man, that's badass. Um, so back when no one like this is like 2016, maybe 2015. Your website's been up for a long time, a long ass time. You're one of the only people that had any information on Salos. And that really intrigued me like years ago. Years ago. That's about 8 years ago. And reading something you had about Salos. And I talked to a lot of practitioners, and not really anyone talks much about Salos. And he's definitely, actually, well, the picture's back there. I don't know if anyone can see it. I don't think anyone can. But yeah, I just wanted to hear kind of your working with Salos and what you found you're able to kind of just figure out with working with him.
I think I've mainly worked with him for emotional healing and alchemy. I haven't worked with him that much. It's been a really long time.
Mm.
My goal was to get gnosis of almost every demon. I actually summoned him, asked him what I should know about him twice. I forgot I'd already done it once. So the second time, he was really succinct in his description of his abilities. And then he just left. I'm like, why was he so quick about that? That was weird. Then I realized I had already had notes on his abilities. I'm like, he just summarized the same shit again.
Yeah, Salas is. The reason I worked with him was he was the only one right when I was like really trying to get hardcore into it, go all in. Was like the spirit, like he's the nicest one of all of them. Yeah, we'll get in the back door. We'll be cool. We'll be fine. Versus like Belial on the onset and just fucking having everything be ridiculous and chaos. Now, when you worked with Abaddon for your writing, was what you wrote inside that compendium curse work, or was that what was that about inside the Ball compendium?
Well, I believe he's the same being as the Greek Apollo. I didn't have any curse work rights, but I did have rights to summon his wolf aspect, which is very potent. It can manifest in the in-between. It's very good for protection. You can send his the hellhounds that serve the wolf aspect for curse work. It's very much good for necrosophic alchemy, helping you become more potent in death magic and necromancy. Yeah, also a very good healer.
When it came with like those animal spirits and stuff, like what you've been able to channel with that, is that something like where you're working with entities and they're helping you uncover that, like how we have our higher spirit animal, the higher totem? Or is that kind of like how you did your higher self? It's just kind of like a natural of unfolding.
For me, originally I decided I wanted to know what my spirit animal was in college, and as soon as I put my mind to that, I got 3 clear synchronicities that it was a lion. Then I typed in spirit animal meditation into YouTube, and I just followed this guided meditation. And of course, I saw the lion. It was the first time I saw it. It took a while before I could communicate with it clearly and call on its power. I'm hoping to try and channel a right to sacrifice someone else's spirit animal to my own. Better term for it is philia, which is the Norse term, this animal spiritual extension of yourself. Mine can also appear as a wolf. I had some of my coven mates do the same guided meditation that I did. One of them, his spirit animal turned out to be a big spider, and he's an arachnophobe, so he hated that. Um, the other two people I had tried, they were able to get tons of knowledge about their past lives from their spirit animals.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I did have I went to a shamanism class and we did this meditation and basically the rocks that you end up grabbing, you'd see if there's an animal in it, and then I saw it was an eagle with a beak, and I was like, that's so generic. And then I look up and I see a picture of an eagle inside of the room, and then she's just like, just accept it. And I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. I got a beak, everyone. We're going out here. That's really awesome. Especially, I mean, when it comes to like the Norse pantheon, because it seems like you definitely have some experience with all that. Did you find the runes to be pretty effective, or could you think of one that might be good to help someone unlock that animal totem?
Isn't Degas supposed to be good for contacting the spirit animal?
I couldn't say.
One
Dagon?
like two arrows pointed at each other. Degas.
Oh, wow, okay. That might, actually, that'd be really wild. I'm just gonna write that there, and I'm definitely gonna double check that later. Dagon.
Yeah,
That'd be crazy.
But I do use runes a bit. I use Algiz to create one of my wards. Runic divination has also been very effective. It's been a while since I used it. But
Yeah, doing runic divination. I never did that. I did carry them around, and I have some place in different places, kind of like what you're saying with the protection and all that. But I do tarot divination here and there with myself, and I find that is honestly it's pretty mystical as hell. It's like, do you really want to know the answer?
Yeah.
Do you do that before you take on a case, or doing a write for someone? Like if it's a hardcore, extensive write, not just in my healing, but or do you not even? You probably don't even do any baneful rights.
Yeah, I temporarily stopped selling baneful rights. I'm not offering any right now, but basically I do divination about whether or not the target deserved it, or just ask a spirit instead for empowerments. I'll ask like permission from the spirit who gave me the right to perform it over that person.
I get to see the casting couch.
Yeah.
I always hear about the couch and the magicalness of it.
Do you know where that joke came from?
No, I do not.
So my last couch, I had this couch that I'd had for like years.
Yeah.
Somehow one day it was just broken as hell. Like two of the legs were broken off. The two sections wouldn't connect anymore. I was like, when and how did this break? So I'm like, until I got this one, I put like a roll of toilet paper where one leg used to be and a little thing of face cream where the other used to be to like prop it up. So I was joking about how broken the couch was. My live audience. I was talking about, how? I have no idea how I broke it. Then live on air, suddenly, it clicks. And I gasp and go, it was the sex. And ever since then, I've been called the couch lord.
That's awesome. That is true. Hey, dude, that's truth, and it's awesome. He banged it up together, dude. Well, hey, everyone he has the couch. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to get your debut. Vidian is the name. Okay, don't you guys forget it. The V is for Vidian, dude. I will say your intros, your outros. You're really funny, dude. You are a freaking clown. So when it comes to chants. Like, so I know there's different languages. You know, you can use Sumerian, you can use demonic tongue, you can do X, Y, and Z. Is that just kind of another one of those things, dude? As you've been going on this journey, they just naturally come to you? Or do spirits tell you, and then you just kind of say it, and then that's how it happens? Because you have a lot of them. A lot.
So, with the ones I channel, basically they're a combination of some spiritual language with some human language. I often don't know which. Sometimes I recognize like Sumerian and Babylonian roots in some of them, but um, basically like the true demonic language, it can't be recorded. Like one time, one of my coven mates, first time one of my coven mates got possessed and started, speaking the demonic tongue for magical purposes. I was trying to write down what he said, but like the words just like faded from memory. I couldn't do it. You could probably cheat if you had like an audio recording, but generally speaking, it's just hard to record properly at all. So when I channel a chant, they have to water it down, mix it with some human language. For the ones I create, when I design the chant with intent, then I'll like pour energy into like where I have the chant written down to like fill it with my power. Then I'll offer it to the spirit it calls on. Say, I ask that you accept this chant as your own. That's the process of how I create chants. Same thing I do with hymns, like magical hymns I create.
Yeah, and I definitely do find there are certain, I don't know who created, I forget her name, but they're like Rinish, Tasa, Laka, Veda, or just like, I forget who's all that is, but there are certain things and energies you do feel locking into those, and sometimes, whether it's working with the spirit or just to achieve something or unlock a certain chakra, like, and that was kind of a big thing too. Like when you're saying unlocking chakras, did you just go on YouTube and listen to the different frequency tones, and then from each of those tones unlock, or were you actually saying different mantras that would target those, and you'd visualize those, and you'd be actually trying to actively open them?
First chakra I opened was my third eye. I followed these instructions, random instructions I found online. I didn't use like the binaural beats. I don't think I even knew those existed yet. But basically the website told me to make a certain sign with my hand and vibrate the name Thoth while visualizing that chakra, glowing brilliantly. And that was how I opened it. That's when I first started seeing spirits. So the website said next you should go for the crown, which is the opposite of what people usually do. I tried that website's technique for the crown chakra. I think it's called Sahasrara, the chakra. I tried multiple times and couldn't get it right. Then one day I walk upstairs and my brother is watching this cartoon called Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I see the main character, Ong, being guided by some spiritual guru to open his chakras. And I saw him opening his crown chakra, but he was using a different hand sign than I had been. So I decided, why don't I try the fucking hand sign from that cartoon? I did it. Finally opened my crown chakra. Wow. Wild to get them all.
That's actually really freaking badass. And that's something too, I will say, like, I'm not one that watches a ton of anime or anything, but there's a couple that I would say are some classics that I think, like Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. There's so much alchemy level conversation and ideas, and I do believe within like our movie system and different systems of creative shows and shit, they do have this underlying teaching of things, but I still don't think it's to the level which it needs to be, because I do find if you had that mind state about, you're the creator and you're able to make changes and not have to hold on to that spiritual baggage of all the ancestors, you can actually release that and not feeling so enslaved by the Abrahamic God. I know for myself that was definitely probably the toughest hurdle for me, was finally detaching apart that whole process. And it sounds like you just kind of, you just got right into the whole pagan thing right off the get, and you're like, yeah, that other shit was toxic.
Yeah.
You just kind of saw it off the get. Yeah, it definitely took a long time for myself. Like it took getting kicked out of groups for asking certain questions about certain Bible verses and talking about giants and extraterrestrials. That typically doesn't go too well. And then saying that you went and cleansed the house, and they're like, "How the hell can you do that?" I was like, "Oh, I work with Saint Michael the Archangel. You're not allowed to do that. Quit doing it." I was like, "Damn, all right, excommunicado." But you're cool if you can say you're excommunicated, I guess. So what about the entity Zagon? I saw a little bit on there, but his name intrigues me because some people find it to be like an actual entity for the Goetia. Other people connect to this dragon. I don't know. There's just different interpretations. I think the Dagon people worshipped Zagon or a type of dragon. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I just was reading through all the different names of beings. That one really kind of rang a bell, so I just wanted to hear your thoughts about Zagon.
So I don't know of the Goetic demon Zagon and I think Babylonian god Dagon being the same being. I've never made that connection. For Zagon, it wouldn't surprise me if he had like a dragon aspect. A lot of demons do. Dagon, he's a pretty powerful deity too. He's attributed to Thaumael in my gnosis. Of course, he's part of the Lovecraftian pantheon as well as the Babylonian one.
Oh wow, I actually didn't put those connections together. There's actually when it comes to Necronomicon, I mean, I've worked with, I'd say roughly 6 of them in there. I mean, not everyone by any means, but do you feel like those are a separate current, or it's once again just like a deific mask of another, like someone from the Norse pantheon, for instance, or voodoo? Yeah, what's your thoughts on the Lovecraftian type of beings in the Necronomicon?
So I do agree that those entities are real. I believe that Lovecraft's higher self made some type of deal where he would be introducing these real entities through his fiction. I don't think he knew what he was doing consciously, physically. I think these sort of visions were forced upon him. I have found them pretty powerful and pretty useful, and a lot of occultists do work with them. I consider Cthulhu, I consider him very much to be a spirit of Doth. He's a great protector, great initiator, etc. As a Thoth, I found him to be extremely wise and powerful. Haven't worked with Nyarlathotep so much, but yeah, Ishni-Garab or Shub-Niggurath, she's pretty potent too. I do usually approach them through the methods of the Necronomicon by Simon, except for Nyarlathotep, who isn't in the Necronomicon. Castor is really cool too. He really appears to me as like a reaper deity, like he's the death god of the Lovecraftian current, in my eyes.
Oh wow, do they come in? I feel like they would be ones that come in dreams. So I didn't know if that was something that they did with you.
Oh, I have not had them come in dreams. The only beings that ever came to me in dreams have been Cthulhu, not Cthulhu, Basmajael and Azazel.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I like I said, I'm not I've not had anything crazy in my dreams. I'd like to have a badass bitch like Bune, Duchess Bune. She's a babe. That's all I can say. Metagods. That's a huge thing from the Goetia Chalvothoth. I can't even say some of these. And Sith Rock Core. Like, dude, holy shit. All right. So each one of those, I just want to kind of dive in. Like, how do you work with being of that much immense power? You know what I mean? Because that's like 72 all compiled into one. And yeah, just kind of like all this and why you'd work with this grand power versus just a singularity of the one being. Yeah, just kind of just what are your thoughts?
Um, the main thing to call on the Goetia is for power. It's not that hard to summon. Not power, for protection. He's not particularly difficult to summon, as long as you have the sigil and a chant and like the basics of evocation down. Um, when I did my soul dedication, I dedicated my soul to the Goetia Shavajoth, and Sithrakor, like the highest infernal powers I could find. For sometimes when I'm doing demon magic, for my opening rite, I'll call on Shavajoth and get the Goetia to like fill the area with infernal energy and like empower me to summon these spirits. Obviously, you never call him the Goetia for curse work. That's something you would quickly regret. But yeah, the Abrahamic practice of calling on Jehovah to coerce demons into doing their bidding is a corruption of an older practice where you call on like the highest power to help you summon whatever you're trying to summon. So I go to Shavajoth, the Goetia or Sithrakor.
So yeah, that you're using that entity really as a massive portal to what energies you need to draw from all of those, instead of you guessing which one. Like you just are just allowing all plus and. That's pretty okay. I really like that. That gives me a lot of experiments I can kind of run with. That's actually pretty fucking genius. Now I've not really done anything with the Cathar clip off. I've worked with deities from it, like Nurgle and Nama, which did way more than what I freaking thought I was going to get out of working with them. Like they're both spectacular, but when people are running the clip off, why would someone start doing that tree? Would that be one of those things for the beginners, or is that kind of like your own path working, essentially, to get to a certain point?
I think once you've got the basics of demon magic down and you can like communicate with demons and do good divination well, you're ready to start the cliff author journey. Because you'll need to. It's a very personal thing. It's different people have to go at different rates. You'll want to be able to divine what your next step is and when to take it, whether or not you're ready. Basically, initiating through a sphere, when you do that, you're bringing the energy of that sphere into your life and into your being. Mm-hmm. So it'll sort of immediately evolve you, and then it will basically place some type of ordeal in your life that will help flesh out that transformation. For me, Sphere of Samael made me a much better friend. The Sphere of Venus, Harab Serapel, that one showed me like the power of true love, made me a much more loving person. Gola Chab made me a lot more comfortable with stupid, dangerous situations and confrontation. Yeah, it changed me a lot, and the demons have told me that like once you completed the cliff off, the demons don't really consider you human anymore.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know back when I started working with Belial, I remember the whole thing is once you have that black alchemy occur within you, your vessel just change and who you are. And I noticed with my eyes, they changed a little bit. Like they became, I don't know. All I can say is I could tell a difference. And then also I shaved my hair when I fully went all the way in. You know, that was kind of my initiatory, like hop in that. But that's actually a pretty good incentive to run through the clip off, you know? I mean, not really run. And honestly, it sounds like that's a year process. Like, you want to do that? And even a year might be pushing it, you know, with all the parts. Because I kind of find it's 1 month to 3 months is usually when I've had that whole process kind of unfold for me to know what that next step is. So there's no point to rush the process, you know. Um, I got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. But thank you again. I really appreciate it. And everyone, down below there will be his link tree. And if you can't click on it, you can at least copy it and then put it in the browser so you can check out his channel, what he sells, his services, everything else along those lines. So thank you all. So when it comes to um, working with Lilith and Nama and Succubi slash Incubi, I just wanted to know if kind of your experience you've had with working with them.
I have had some sexual experience with them. Lilith has been pretty wonderful. It turned out that Lilith and Moloch are like my spiritual parents. They shape the energetic blueprint that is me.
Wow, that's actually cool, dude. It's cool as shit.
Yeah, like when I was younger and I first got into spirit work, I almost didn't want to work with Lilith because I felt like she was like overrated, but that was dumb as hell. Um, yeah, she's been good for a lot of different stuff. Curse work, her spider aspect is really good for curse work. Her dragon aspect is too. Um, she is very good for protection. Um, she has a lot of different aspects. There's like a wolf aspect too, and a cheetah aspect. Her male aspect has actually intimidated me when I first saw it. Every spear can switch genders.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see, for name Ma, she's been really great too. She's definitely helped me out in some major ways when I needed it. I consider Naamah to be both the daughter of Lilith and like an incarnation of her, because to be the daughter of a spirit is to sort of be that spirit for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, for her, I'm trying to remember what all I've worked with her for. I know I've worked with her for curse work and alchemy, but I'm drawing a blank.
You definitely know your curse work and to work with that death current. Like that's definitely like you using it for not only baneful but for healing and ancestral work. Like that's really that's a different. That's so unique. You know, I really don't know anyone that uses death magic to that extent that often. You know, for things along those lines. So like. I mean, all I can say is, damn, dude. Damn, that's badass. Um, so my last question is, do you have any projects coming up, or do you just have your Patreon and people can join in on that for your monthly ritual, or what's just kind of the next big things going on in 2024 for you, bro?
I do plan on finally writing another book again. Um, for the longest time, I was wondering what to write a book about. I considered the Shaitanic Path. I considered Santa Muerte, Angel Magic. Like, I don't realize that if I'm going to write a book again, it kind of has to be about all of it. So, yeah, that'll probably take a while. I plan on exploring the demons of the Grimorium Verum and giving them a section, because they're the demons I've covered like the least extensively.
Mm.
The ones from the Book of Citra Aura. Um, there's that. Obviously, I'm about to release the healing spell that I tested on y'all, and once my current path working with Santa Muerte ends, I'm going to try and start testing this grand healing rite that calls on a multitude of demons. I'm hoping I can at least permanently decrease the severity of the symptoms of chronic illnesses through that rite.
Well,
I learned that the Goetic demon Agares can actually modify someone energetically to make them permanently more receptive to healing spells from other practitioners. So I'm going to send him to the recipient, and then I'm going to evoke all these demons that specialize in healing and hopefully make some permanent changes. I'm hoping to start with a girl who has Graves' disease.
God dang, dude. Well, that's, I think one of the most beautiful things about Magic, and all those things are badass, bro. I do look forward to seeing all that, and let me know when that's released. But, like, one of the big things that pushed me to take my Magic to the next level, like, do the right deification for JS when I did it, because the biggest thing I wanted to know back, I think it was like 2019, was, can I do this? Can I actually do this for someone, because I had lost my father due to cancer, and I had always wanted to be able to make a change and find a way to change reality. So, like, healing rites like this, like that you're coming up with, or the right deification, those things, like, I think that they are honestly some of the coolest shit in the world. Like, money is awesome,
Yeah.
love, all that stuff, self love, all that shit. Yeah, it's fucking great. But, like, healing, and to be able to do that and not to take a pharmaceutical drug, like what we said earlier, throwing that shit away. I think that's the most beautiful thing about Magic, honestly. And dude, I look forward for that for you, man. And definitely let me know when your book comes out, and I'll definitely be picking that up.